Because we have to be our brothers and sisters keeper in a way that we're willing to talk to these young kids who may be going astray, or some of the young kids who haven't gone astray, but they need to know our story. See, when I get out there, Calvin, first African American chief of police, first African American mayor. I was a college All American football player. I was all state in football and track here. I was all star in Little League. All these things that God had given a young boy from the projects, from the hood. God had given me all those accolades. And I think one of the reasons why he gave it to me is because I believed in him and I trust in him.
It's the Logan Power Show. Inspirational and motivational. It's the Logan Power Show. Informational to help you grow. Logan Power Show.
And now the host, Calvin Logan.
Well, everybody, welcome to the Logan Power Show. It's me, your host, Calvin Logan, and we are in a treat for you today. We're bringing a returning guest. His particular position of life has really changed him. At first, he was go over a couple of accolades, serving in law enforcement for over 25 plus years. He was the first African American to be the chief of police for North Charleston Police Department. But some things have changed for him now. He is now the first, I repeat, the first African American to be mayor of North Charleston. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our dear friend, the one and only Mayor Reggie Burgess. How you doing, sir?
Hey, how you doing, Calvin, man? Thank you for allowing me to be on your show. It's always been a pleasure, because not everybody gets on your show, and and the ones who get on your show, I think I've seen some folks, and they really appreciated the time that you spend with them, and the things that you allow them to be able to respond to. And I think that makes a great conversation, and it's a two-way street.
Absolutely, sir. And definitely, we want to respect your time and we want to get down to these pivotal things that we feel that needs to be addressed so that people can understand where you're coming from, get to know your heart and where you want to go through it. We know that North Charleston's been under the spotlight, not always the good things, but we pray heaven's best for this city.
Right.
In light of some things that have come up that have put a little eye of the sky in a negative light, what specific steps are you trying to take to restore the public trust in city leadership?
Well, first thing is that the FBI, when they actually contacted us almost a year ago, and told us exactly what they were going to be doing, being a former police officer and actually working with the Violent Crime Task Force, which I was the commander over for many years. I understand how the federal system works when it comes to law enforcement, as well as I know how the state and the local. So when they brought it to my attention, the first thing I did is that I looked out for the best interest of our city. Our city comes first, and I want to make sure that I place people in places to be able to keep us in tune with the investigation if possible. So I actually hired two outside attorneys, and some folks will, well, man, why didn't you just let somebody inside do it? Well, I don't think like that. I wanted to be unbiased. I didn't want our attorneys to work along with their attorneys and made it seem like it was something we were trying to do, or we weren't trying to do our best to bring this thing to a close. So I hired two former U.S. attorneys who actually worked in the federal system, and I had them to actually manage any needs that the federal government have. Instead of them coming to me, they can go to attorneys to get any information they needed, and we didn't at any time, no time at all, that the city ever tried to block or try to impede that investigation at any point. That's why I hired those lawyers, so they could be the conduits for the city, and most of all, look out for the city's best interest. So right, that was the first thing that I did. That was while the investigation was going on, and then the second thing that I did was I made sure I told the community that we're going to do the jobs that they elected us to do. In every city council meeting that we had ever since that conversation came up, when the federal government stated they were investigating, we had our city council meetings and our committee to whole meetings. We held those, and we held them basically as we actually had it scheduled. And then once the indictments came down, then I made sure myself, along with my two mayor's assistants and two deputy assistants, we actually visited the communities from District 1, 3, and 5. And we actually explained to them until they got a new city council member elected that we would actually attend all their civic club community meetings. And we have been doing that. And anything that they have, any needs or any complaints or compliments, they can actually forward that to us, because we had no problem with doing it, because we have to look out for the best interests of our city. We have to, and that was our main goal, was looking out for the best interests of our city.
Yes, sir. Definitely, Mayor. Looking out the best for our city. While we're on that topic, look out the best for the city. Uh, to ensure, like future city grants and zoning decisions are made transparently and fairly. How will you ensure that would happen? I know you made some transition changes. You remember zone, 1, 3, and 5. You're in part of those, even that you're not supposed to be. You don't have to, but you say you want to keep the faith, and keep the trust, but the future city grants and the zoning decisions, how can we make sure that those stay transparently and fairly for those individuals down the road?
Well, what we need to do is first of all acknowledge that we had issues, right? So that was it. And basically, the feds already did that job, and we've actually, concurred with their investigation. When it came to two of the former city council members, one city council member hasn't actually spoken with the feds at this point in time, that we know of. So acknowledge that there were issues there. That's the first thing, and then the second thing for me, when you're talking about being the mayor, in the city of North Charleston, we have a strong mayor system. So, in other words, I am elected by all 10 districts, not individually, all of them, and also that I am the administrator for the daily activities of the city from Monday to Sunday, and so having our future city grants on going, is that there's never been anything that slowed that down. As a matter of fact, what we did was, Calvin, is that the city, we have the number one economic, we're the number one economic engine in the state. We're the city that actually provides more services and do more than any city in the state of South Carolina. As a matter of fact, for 31 years, we were the number one retail city in the state. We have, I think, slipped to number 2. I think we'll probably catch back up and get back to number 1. So what I'm saying is, we in this city that we have that is an economic engine for the state. We're the ones that the city makes the most money. Things happen in the city of North Charleston better than any place in the state. What we did, we only had one grant coordinator in the city. So what I did, I placed another grant coordinator, and now we have 2. And having those grant coordinators, we can split the city in half. We take public safety, and then we take development. So we have, those grant coordinators are looking and going through all kinds of systems to try to find grants that we will be able to help offset some of our city funding that taxpayers pay, as well as the zoning decisions. I came in the door with a plan, and I met with U.S. Representative Clyburn. He came by to see me, and I asked him to help us to find some funding streams to actually rewrite our zoning regulations, our zoning codes. And I say this to you, Calvin. I came in 1989, walking in the door as a rookie, as a police officer, 1989 July, and what we did in 1989, we can't do in 2025, Calvin. We can't. We have to adjust to the times. So we're actually working right now to actually do some rewrites on our zoning and planning zoning ordinances so that we can actually catch up with the times. And like I said, that's a part of transparency. Recognizing that you're behind in times, recognizing that we only had one grant coordinator, and saying what can I do? Well, there's a lot you can do when you talk, but I'm putting it to work. So that's why I hired two grant coordinators. And after July 1, our fiscal year budget, I'll be looking to hire another one because it's a lot that goes on in North Charleston. We need to get as much grant money so that we won't have to actually lean on the taxpayers' dollars.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. While we're talking about the transparency of the money and the economics, um, we know that there's an Alice report that was given 2021. It gave some things talking about low income families. What initiatives are in place to support those low income families and reduce the economic disparities that were highlighted in that particular report?
Man, I grew up from 1969 to around 1974. I lived on the projects in North Charleston called George LeGree. That was a former Navy housing that they turned into low income houses. And my mother and I and my two brothers, we lived there for I was up there since 1969 until 1974. We had housing. My mother didn't accept welfare because she worked two jobs, but she had to live on housing. So I have that experience to know how it is to live on housing. So, but my mother always told me she accepted housing because she needed to get her feet on solid ground. She needed to get her feet on solid ground. So she needs some assistance. And once she got her feet on solid ground, and then, my father, who technically by law is my stepfather, but he came into my life when I was not between 9 and 10. He lifted our family up and then moved us on a community. We had our own home. We had our own rooms, and things has changed in our lifestyle. So what I'm saying to you, I understand how it is to live in a lower income area and live in a lower income family. So what I was trying to do here for the city, being the city's administrative leader, is that we have Horizon Village, the same community that I lived on when it was George LeGree. They actually rebuilt it with the Hope 6 grant many years ago. And when the Hope 6 grant, it actually created the community as it is now with townhomes and some of those homes for sale, some of them are for rent. Well, when I spoke to the North Charleston Housing Cabinet, they told me there was between 50 to 60 units that were unoccupied. Now, I'm speaking about affordable housing, low income housing, attainable housing, and workforce housing. And we have a community that was built for that have at least 50 to 60 unoccupied residents. And they were like that because structure damage within the apartment homes and things that need to be done. So what I did as a mayor, I actually reached out to the housing authority and I wrote a letter and explaining to them that I would give them $800,000 from the city based on they repaying that loan back to get those units up and running. So we can take our citizens who need affordable housing and place them in those 50 plus homes. And so I did that. Then also we got in contact with Tunnels to Towers, and that's a group that's up in the northern part of the nation. And when they contacted us, they had an idea of things that they have been doing before. Well, what they do, they go in around communities and they're trying to help veterans who are homeless. And this is a military town. So you can find a veteran anywhere. My father was a Vietnam veteran. My brother's a 23-year Marine. My grandfather was a World War II veteran, and my wife's grandfather was a World War II veteran. My sister spent 30 years in the Army. So my family is synonymous with the military. So when Towns of Towers contacted me and said that they were looking to come down and meet with me and look at some places that they can build for. So our veterans, they actually came down, we conversated, we met, and now they purchased the Quality Suites, which is right behind Cracker Barrel off of Ashley Phosphate in I-26. They are building 60 suites in that hotel. And that hotel is young. They're gonna build 60 suites in there, and they're gonna open it up to all homeless veterans. Now, you as a veteran, if you're homeless, you can live there for a year or for the rest of your life. So that's another thing. Then also the exit 218. That exit was the former exit when you're coming from downtown on I-26. It would take you to Sproul Avenue, or you can come up Sproul Avenue and go I-26 downtown, where that was built in the late 50s, early 60s, and it actually cut through the community that I'm from, Union Heights. So now what they did, they built a brand new 218, which goes to the Hugh Leatherman Port terminal, and then they tore down the former one, and they actually deeded the property back to the city of North Charleston in 2021. So I'm working with the Coastal Community Land Trust and the Coastal Fund and the Sustainable Institute to actually rebuild that community that was gone. We're looking at putting between 35 to 40, single family homes, senior homes, and affordable homes. And that's just some of the things that we're doing.
Yes, sir. Um, on top of that, you're making a lot of transparency and also making some change here in North Charleston. Then biggest question is how are we going to attract some of these businesses to come, but also provide those livable wages without displacing existing communities? Your thoughts, sir?
Well, to be honest with you, because we're the number one engine for the state, attracting businesses is not a big problem for us. I mean, we got, Roper Hospital about to build a $1 billion hospital right next door to us. MUSC already built one on the Rivers Avenue and Mall Drive side. You've got, all these buildings going on right now in North Charleston. That's really not a problem, attracting them. Right now, if you look at the Tanger area, including West Montague, we have two brand new hotels that just got built. The Jewelry Hotel is high end. You know that's high end. The Embassy Suites have already refurbished their whole hotel. They have new places, rooms that they have, and everything is practically brand new. So right now we're looking at between 5 to 6,000 rooms over there as we're talking, and we have a couple other developers are looking to build two more hotels. So attracting businesses really is not a big problem for us. The problem is, like you stated, if we're going to actually come up as a city and be more productive so everybody can eat, everyone can actually benefit from all that we have here, we're going to have to work with the General Assembly, and that's our state representatives and our state senators. We have to push for better wages. Getting better wages will help a mother who works two jobs from morning to evening and can't be home with her children to lead and guide them, or a father who has to take a job outside the city because it's paying more and he can't be home for probably like half the week, and when the parents have to work longer hours and they have to be away from their children, that's when the devil comes. That's when the devil sets in. Calvin, and you know me in my law enforcement career, I'm taking some of the things I learned from my law enforcement, and I realize there are root causes to bad behaviors. Root causes. So if a mother can't be with a child and the father can't be with a child because they have to work, that child will raise themselves. That child will make decisions on their own. And then if that child's around some family or friend structures who are negative, that child will follow them. If that child gives up, don't you know, Calvin, the number one referral for DSS have, the referral that's consistently that they receive all the time, is not so much of abuse or a family being out in the cold, don't have a place to stay. It's truancy. Truancy, Calvin. If children are going to school, Calvin, they can't they can't make it in this world the way we want them to. They're going to actually have bad behaviors, and bad behaviors turn into criminal behavior. So that's what we have to look at, Calvin. We need to get the wages up, but we have to help our school districts, as I have a person assigned to the school district to work on those issues, those root causes to bad behaviors, so we can actually go back in time and see exactly how we can heal the issue that caused that young boy to give up, that little girl to say, I'm not going to school, or that parent to just say, hey, I can't afford to live in a home. So we have to actually go back and evaluate the issues that brought them to this point and help them to unlearn the things that they learned.
Yes, sir. Since you are talking about education and youth, and that's something that's dear to your heart, and I have seen you do many of things with the city of North Charleston, with the girls uh, powder puff flag
Yeah.
football, to the North Charleston doing things with the connecting with schools, regards to soccer, basketball, a lot of these programs. Um, the biggest concern I have, Mayor, is that you know, for some of our kids, they don't get it year round where I can say like, Mayor, you got me covered 24/7. And I'm not just saying like, well, hey, I want to be around Mayor Burgess, the whole North Charleston Police Department, as a family. And how can this family keep this kid on the straight and narrow? They see the improvements. The kid is developing, ways and all they can do. So, what investments, I guess, are start being made in these youth programs, education, and career readiness for students in North Charleston?
Well, what we've actually learned in 2014 is when we started our COP athletic program. And I say that to you because that program was put together simply to actually have a better relationship with our youth in our community and the police department. We had just experienced the year after that happened, April the 4th, 2015, Walter Scott was killed. He was assassinated by former officer Slager, and the trust factor was lost. So we had built up the trust factor with our community with the CAPS program, and so we knew that the community saw us in a different light. So what I would say basically is that the city is an organization that the citizens can trust and citizens can believe in, but they're only going to trust or believe in us or even buy into what we're doing if we are really, really showing them that we're about them. People don't really care too much, Calvin, so much about how much you know until you show them how much you care. And that's the thing that the city of North Charleston, in the chief position, I actually turned that thing around. I got us out there in the communities. I got us in the neighborhoods. I got us in the churches. I got us even as more to the sound. We would go to funerals. We would go to wakes. We would go to parties. We were anywhere the community would have us to be. We were there with them. And when we did that, it seems to me that really helped a it tremendously helped us because it actually gave us an opportunity to be at ground zero with our citizens and let them see us and let us see them. So, I truly believe that, and what we're doing right now as the mayor, we have to work on those issues. When I act, my department heads, we are going to the civic club meetings. We have 64 civic club meetings every month. My planning zoning director is going to meetings. My finance director is going to meetings. Cultural arts and recreation and public works. All of they're getting thoroughly immersed in these communities. Therefore, when you're talking about how we can do a whole lot more within our communities, we're taking the government of the city to where it really counts in the neighborhoods. with the people who matter, who count. And of course, it's going to take time, as it did with the police department, but we did it in the police department. And I know we can do a whole lot better now because the folks who are department heads, police officers, we interact with communities, but department heads don't. They see them in council meetings, or they see communities walking through City Hall. But I have them engaging so that they can understand what these citizens are living under conditions. They can sit on the porch and see things that they never saw because they never rode and stopped by, or they can actually stand with a person and listen to a person, and they can tell them the real about their lives. So, I mean, I would say to you is changing things and addressing situations. You can't address anything or try to work on anything if you don't truly have an understanding of it. And just because people call you or send an email, that doesn't make it true. You need to be there. You need to be in those communities, man. When I was a chief, zero crime happened in City Hall. Zero. Why you thought I was in the streets? That's where things going on. So bring in City Hall to the communities. That's how it starts, Calvin. That's how it starts.
Yes, sir. And that's how it starts. And shout out to the CAPS program from the bottom of my heart. I've
Yes, sir.
literally seen Lisa, I've literally seen those officers pour their heart out. They are some of the best coaches. Definitely, I want to give a shout out to everybody who has played a pivotal role in the
Yeah,
youth.
yeah,
Trust and believe that some of the most fun times I've seen from the outsider,
yeah,
from a spectator.
yes.
I'm not the one playing, but I like being a spectator and watching some of the coaching happen
Yeah,
and some of the love that's given there. Um,
yeah.
I know your time is valuable. I don't want to hold you up, but I have a question in regards to how do you feel your stance on rezoning efforts that impact neighborhoods like Singing Pines, and how do you balance development with community concerns?
Well, Singing Pines, I've been working with folks that live in Singing Pines ever since I was a sergeant, and that was in the '90s. I was a sergeant in 1995, so I go way back. Neil Bailey and his family over there, Miss Herb. I mean, those folks just care. They care about their community. They really do. And then the businesses, they care about business, right? So the thing about rezoning in that situation right there, of course, that happened way before I became the mayor, and I asked about it, and I was like, wow. So I'm not sitting here saying that one side is right or one side is wrong. What I'm saying is that I've listened to it, and I think that in the future, yeah, if our zoning, like I told you, to rewrite some of our zoning ordinances, that's what we're going to be doing. If our zoning ordinances are basically hampering communities, then we need to slow it down, evaluate it, and make the right decision for the betterment of the people. We love our businesses, but we have to listen to our people as well. And I just think that in that situation, something happened that I'm hoping and praying that I can get some of the things rewritten and coordinate efforts with the rewriting of it in relationship to the community's concerns, as well as the business concern, because you have some businesses that have been here for centuries. I mean, well, century, decades, because the city's about 50 something years old. So they've been here for decades, and then the communities are basically getting closer, to those businesses, and it's in the reverse. Some of the businesses are saying, "Hey, the community seem to be, encroaching close to us, and we're supposed to have, a curtilage in between." So that's something right there that we're going to have to really make an adjustment, and we have to really pay strict attention to it, and hopefully we'll get me and the city council members, which we'll sit down and say, hey, this is the best for all. But whatever we do, Calvin, whatever decision we make, one side is not going to be happy. One side is not going to be happy. But if we give them understanding, they may not agree with it, but just give them the real. And you've heard me say it before. I keep it real. You know, and if I'm not happy and my neighbor's happy, then I have to deal with that and just kind of move on the best way I can. Not giving up on it, but if I'm not given the opportunity to make a zoning change, or if I don't win a grievance, or I don't win a opportunity to do what I want to do when it comes to my property or it comes to my business, just we have to accept the truth and then just try to live with that.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely, Major Burge. Final question. I know there's environmental issues. There's things that's always going on here in North Charleston that you're definitely working heavily to get fixed. Are there any plans to invest in green spaces or climate smart development to address extreme heat and flooding? Because I know it's like 81% of the buildings, like they say, just by data, are on risk of flooding. So I just wanted to know, do you have any type of plans in place?
Yeah, and that's another thing with the flooding issue is that we need to look at best practices, best models, um, and especially areas like our city, like Louisiana, Mississippi, and places like that that are kind of under the table. Like that's why we can't build subways here, because when you go underground, I mean, it's too wet. So we're not favorable for that. We have to do it above ground. And that's one of the things that we have to work together regionally. That's a regional situation because um, Mayor Coswell downtown, I mean, he has questions every day about the flooding and all the water that's creeping up. And be honest with you, he has no answer for it because it's just the climate, right? But he tries his best to try to work around things so people would know exactly what's the best route to take instead of driving into a flooded spot or a place that's most likely to flood. So with me in North Charleston, we have less flooding issues than City of Charleston have, but we do have our areas that flood, and resiliency is big to us. That's why we're looking. That was one of my wish list with Representative Clyburn, is that we have a flooding issue that's on the corridor of the Dorchester Wayland and Shakur Cherokee. We need to work on that so we can actually have the flooding issue flush itself on through where that water keeps moving. The railroad tracks that is right there at Dorchester Meeting that has caused some flooding. The interstate overpasses that has caused some flooding, and some other areas too. So we have to mitigate those issues and come up with a realistic approach to try to alleviate the flooding where we know we can do it. If it's a natural thing, we just have to work around it. But if it's something that we can make a change, I think we regionally, and that's the counties as well as the cities and the towns, we should actually work with the state and the federal government to seek some type of funding revenue to actually get that revenue assigned to those areas. It's like you want to hear me talk about 526. You want to hear me talking about that. You would hear Reggie Burgess talking about the city of North Charleston. 526 has had its chance. I think we need to get to the cities that we live in. City of North Charleston, City of Charleston, City of Mount Pleasant. These areas, City of Somerville, we need to think about, and Goose Creek as well, we need to think about what's going on in our jurisdictions so we can help our citizens with those issues, and try to get the powers that be who may have access to funding sources, may it be grants or loans or bonds, to try to get things done in a manner that our people in our communities don't have to deal with those issues that cause it leads up to social decay. I mean, flooding problems, that move people out their homes, and then they have to try to find another home, and probably can't afford that, and the schools can't operate like they want to because of flooding issues, and then commerce. as well. Can't get around because it's so, those issues we need to work on.
Yes, sir. This the final question here, sir. I know that you talk about your faith. You never deny your faith.
Never.
And you talk about how prayer is vital in your life. Um, besides people like us keeping you lifted up in prayer and every elected official that's here, what can we as citizens do to sort of help us make this North Charleston a better us down the road so that when the next generation comes, the sacrifices, the planning, all the things that you mentioned will be better. Like, what can the citizens do from their perspective that they can do to sort of like keep North Charleston at its apex without it declining?
Well, I thank you for that, Calvin. My faith is number one to me. You know, Jesus is everything to me, and I've come a long way, young brother. I've come a long way, and I still have a little ways to go. But I've seen my father died. I've seen my brother died. I've seen my great grandmother died. I've seen my aunts, uncles, friends, all kind of family members, and I've seen a lot of things good and a lot of things that are decent in my life. But what I have seen that's more consistent, that's is perfect, is the love that the Lord has for me. That's what I've seen. So I ask the Lord to allow the Holy Spirit to lead, guide, and direct me every day of my life. And what I would think, if you asked me that question any day, I would say this, that we have to be, Calvin, our brothers and sisters keepers. We have to be, Calvin. We've got to take our heads out of the sand. We've got to work with our youth. People say, oh, well, you can't talk to them. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You have to find a way to talk with them. And when you find the way, you keep going with them and you show them. And one thing that my father did with me, when people say you can't talk to the youth, yes, you can. They're willing to talk to you, but you got to come to them in a way that's fashionable in this day and time. My father always told me that he said to me, be your own man, follow your own movement. That's what he always told me. He said, don't let anybody else tell you what to do. You make a decision on your own. Be your own man about it. And I look at the youth nowadays, and they're trying to be their own man. They're trying to be their own woman. They like when we were growing up. Hey, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, and I still believe in that. And the kids nowadays are not being taught that. And it's not a thing that you belittle yourself to say that. You're saying that because the Bible said, honor thy mother and thy father. So anybody could be a mother and father to you who has something to say to you and something they can share with you that's good. I just believe if the thing that we need to do, like I said, is we have to be our brothers and sisters keeper in a way that we're willing to talk to these young kids who may be going astray, or some of the young kids who haven't gone astray, but they need to know our story. See, when I get out there, Calvin, first African American chief of police, first African American mayor. I was a college All American football player. I was all state in football and track here. I was all star in Little League. All these things that God had given a young boy from the projects, from the hood. God had given me all those accolades. And I think one of the reasons why he gave it to me is because I believed in him and I trust in him. And that's what I'm saying with my faith. You may feel, oh, I don't know about this, and man, I don't know about the God thing and the Jesus thing. Okay, you have to figure it out yourself. But one thing I can show you is what my life was about, what I went through. See, when I tell my story, then you can understand I am just like you are. I just happen to be on this side because of my faith. That's it. So you can try anything you want. You can talk to anybody you want to. You can have all your little games, your little this and that. But one thing Reggie Burgess can tell you, I've been there. I've been there worse and worse situation than most young kids have. But I have faith because God told me the more you do right, the more I will bless you. And I believe that. I'm 59 years old, Cal. I'll be 60 in June. I believe that. If I don't believe my mother, it was my heart until I married my wife. My wife was my heart, and my daughter and my mother and my wife, they are my hearts, man, and my brothers and sisters. But I love God more than I love anybody. I do, because I know what God can do for a child from the hood, from the projects, had nothing. So they can listen to all these other people. I'm a living witness of how a person who didn't have nothing, who they said wasn't going to be anything, who they said was going to be the scum of the earth, said different, because God is in me. So that's what I'm saying, Calvin. We have to be our brothers and sisters keeper. The Bible teaches us everything we need to know. We just have to accept it for what it is. We won't get it right. It's not perfect. We're not perfect. The Bible is. All we have to do is say, I want to make a change first in me before I try to help somebody else change themselves. And that's what I'm saying to you, man. We need to be our brothers and sisters keepers, and we need to be in these young people's lives, and we need to show these young people, who we are. Tell them your story, good, bad, or indifference. Tell them, and they'll look at you totally different. And when you come to them and try to, give them some advice, they'll be more respectful because they'll say, "Hey, man, dude, I know what dude's from. I know what he's about. Tell them your story, man. Tell them."
And that you heard it very first. While we have to keep our leaders lift up in prayer. Again, you heard it very first here at the Logan Power Show. The mayor, first time African American here, Mayor Reggie Burgess. We want to thank him for coming on. I thank you for all of those who are watching us. Take this conversation as food for thought, apply it, take everything that he said. And if it does impact you in a way, then hey, be that change agent. Tell them, like, for instance, hey, I appreciate the conversation, the candidness. We here want to be candid here in the Logan Power Show. We want to tell you how we care about everybody. So we want to bring one of our leaders on to tell where their perspective is, and we want to let this perspective conversation make a difference. That's all the time I got. My name is Calvin Logan Power Show. We thank you all for watching. Keep watching us again. We love you. We'll see you soon.